What if an ordinary 5 rupee coin from India could be hiding a secret that completely changes the way you look at old money? A coin dated 2000, carrying a denomination of just 5 rupees, may seem like nothing more than pocket change. But some collectors know that the smallest details can sometimes make a massive difference. And today, we are talking about a coin surrounded by an astonishing $2 million value claim. Is there really something extraordinary hiding behind this 2000 Indian 5 rupee coin, or is the huge price simply an internet rumor? Stay with us, because we are going to explore the history, design, minting process, possible varieties, errors, rarity, condition, and the evidence that would actually be needed before anyone could call this coin a multi-million-dollar discovery. Welcome back to Million Dollar Coin, and make sure you subscribe, because this could completely change the way you look at the old coins sitting around your home. The Indian 5 rupee coin dated 2000 is a fascinating piece of modern Indian coinage. At first glance, it may appear to be a simple denomination used in everyday transactions, but every coin has a story behind it. Before a coin reaches someone's pocket, it passes through a highly organized minting process involving metal preparation, blank production, striking, inspection, and distribution. By the time the coin enters circulation, it has already become a small piece of the economic history of its country. The year 2000 is particularly interesting because it represents the beginning of a new millennium, making coins from that year memorable to many collectors. However, the date alone does not automatically make a coin rare or extremely valuable. The real mystery begins when we ask whether a particular example contains a special variety, unusual mint characteristic, or genuine minting error that separates it from ordinary examples. The denomination is another important part of the coin's identity. 5 rupees may sound like a very small amount today, but coins should not be judged only by their original face value. A coin's collecting value can be completely different from the amount written on it. Collectors consider many factors, including rarity, historical importance, condition, design, minting characteristics, varieties, errors, and demand. This is why a coin originally intended to circulate for only a few rupees can sometimes become much more interesting decades later. But there is also an important lesson here. Not every old coin becomes valuable simply because it has survived for many years. Millions of coins can remain in existence, and age by itself is not enough to create a huge collector premium. One of the first things collectors examine is the year. On this coin, the date is 2000, and that immediately gives us a starting point for identification. But the date is only one piece of the puzzle. Serious collectors want to know which mint produced the coin and whether there are recognized varieties associated with that particular year. Indian coinage has been produced at different mints, and mint marks can sometimes provide an important clue about a coin's origin. A tiny symbol near the date or within another area of the design can distinguish one issue from another. This is why collectors often examine these small details with magnification. What looks like an insignificant mark to an ordinary person can sometimes be an important piece of numismatic information. Another major area of interest is the possibility of a genuine mint error. Coins are manufactured through mechanical processes, and although quality control is designed to prevent mistakes, errors can occur. A coin can sometimes be struck incorrectly, have a design problem, show an unusual alignment, or display another characteristic created during production. Genuine mint errors can be collectible, particularly when they are rare and clearly identifiable. But this is also where many exaggerated coin value stories begin. People often see a scratch, dent, worn number, or damaged surface and immediately call it a rare mint error. In reality, collectors must determine whether the unusual feature was created at the mint or happened later while the coin was circulating. That distinction is extremely important. A genuine minting error is connected to the production process, while post-mint damage happens after the coin leaves the mint. A coin could be dropped, scratched, rubbed against another object, exposed to chemicals, bent, cleaned, or damaged in countless ways during its lifetime. These changes may make a coin look unusual, but unusual does not automatically mean valuable. This is why experienced collectors carefully study the shape, location, depth, and characteristics of any suspected error before reaching a conclusion. The condition of the coin is another major factor. Collectors generally prefer coins that have retained strong original details and surfaces. A heavily circulated coin can show wear on the highest points of the design, while a well-preserved coin can retain much sharper details. However, condition should never be considered separately from rarity. A common coin in excellent condition may still be worth only a modest amount, while a genuinely rare variety can attract significant attention even when it shows some circulation. The combination of rarity, authenticity, condition, and collector demand is what makes the difference. This brings us to the extraordinary $2 million value claim. A $2 million valuation would be extremely unusual for a 5 rupee coin and should never be accepted simply because someone places that number in a video title, thumbnail, advertisement, or online listing. A claimed value and a confirmed market value are two completely different things. Anyone can ask an enormous price for an object, but that does not mean a serious collector has actually paid that amount. Real market evidence is much stronger when it comes from documented sales, reputable auctions, professional authentication, and recognized numismatic research. So, what would have to happen for a coin like this to even be considered for an extraordinary valuation? It would need something genuinely exceptional. Perhaps an extremely rare and authenticated mint error, a previously unknown variety, an extraordinary production mistake, or another characteristic that makes it dramatically different from normal examples. Even then, a $2 million valuation would require strong proof and actual market demand. Rarity alone does not automatically create a multimillion-dollar price. Collectors need to want the coin, and there must be credible evidence that buyers are willing to compete for it. This is why authentication matters so much. If someone believes that a 5 rupee coin contains a major mint error, the safest approach is to preserve the coin exactly as it is and have the unusual feature examined by someone with genuine numismatic knowledge. Professional examination can help determine whether the coin is authentic, whether the feature is original, and whether it matches a recognized error or variety. This is especially important when an enormous value is being claimed, because the higher the claimed value, the stronger the evidence should be. Collectors should also avoid cleaning potentially valuable coins. It may seem logical that making an old coin shiny would make it more attractive, but aggressive cleaning can damage the original surface. Scrubbing, polishing, chemicals, or abrasive materials can leave marks that cannot easily be reversed. If you believe an old coin might be unusual, preserving its existing condition is generally much better than trying to make it look new. The edge of a coin can also reveal useful information. Collectors sometimes inspect the edge for unusual characteristics, damage, thickness differences, or striking-related problems. The weight and dimensions can also be compared with known specifications for the correct issue. These details can help determine whether a coin is normal or deserves further investigation. But measurements should be taken accurately, because a small difference caused by an inaccurate household scale should not be mistaken for proof of a rare error. There is also a fascinating psychological side to collecting. When people hear that an old coin might be worth millions, they naturally begin looking at every coin they own differently. Suddenly, a small mark seems important. A strange number seems like an error. A different-looking edge seems rare. But experienced collectors know that excitement has to be balanced with evidence. The goal is not to find $1 million coin by imagination. The goal is to identify exactly what you have and then determine its genuine collector significance. That is what makes the 2000 Indian 5 rupee coin so interesting. It represents a perfect example of why people become fascinated with numismatics. A coin that originally had a simple purpose, being used as money, can eventually become an object of research and historical interest. The coin carries its date, denomination, national identity, and manufacturing characteristics with it. Every mark and every detail can tell part of its story. But we should always separate the confirmed facts from the extraordinary claims. The confirmed identification is an Indian 5 rupee coin dated 2000. The $2 million figure is a claimed value and should not be treated as a guaranteed market price without independent evidence. That distinction is essential for anyone creating or watching coin collecting content. A responsible collector does not simply repeat a number. Responsible collector asks where that number came from and what evidence supports it, Imagine finding this coin among a box of old currency. You might initially ignore it because 5 rupees seems insignificant, but then you notice the year. You examine the design. You check the mint mark. You notice something unusual. At that moment, the coin becomes more than pocket change. It becomes a question. What is different about it? Was that difference created at the mint? Is it recognized by collectors? How rare is it? And has a similar example ever sold for a significant amount? Those questions are much more valuable than simply asking, how much is this coin worth? Because they lead you toward the truth. The world of rare coins is full of stories about ordinary-looking pieces that turned out to be special. But it is equally full of exaggerated claims about common coins supposedly worth enormous fortunes. Learning the difference between those two situations is one of the most important skills any collector can develop. A genuine discovery will have evidence behind it. It will have identifiable characteristics, credible references, and ideally professional confirmation. So if you have a 2000 Indian 5 rupee coin, take a closer look, but don't automatically assume that it is worth $2 million. Examine the date, the mint mark, the lettering, the design, the edge, the surfaces, and any unusual characteristics. Compare it with reliable examples of the same issue. If something appears genuinely unusual, have it examined before making any decisions about its value. The most important lesson is simple. A huge price tag does not make a coin valuable. Rarity, authenticity, condition, history, and real collector demand do. A coin can be 5 rupees in face value and still become an interesting collectible, but an extraordinary valuation requires extraordinary evidence. And that is why this 2000 Indian 5 rupee coin deserves a closer look, not because we can automatically confirm a $2 million fortune, but because it reminds us that the smallest pieces of currency can sometimes lead to fascinating discoveries. The next time you see an old coin sitting unnoticed in a drawer, don't judge it only by its face value. Look at the date, look at the details, look for the mint mark, learn its history, compare it with verified examples, and if something truly unusual appears, investigate it carefully, because sometimes the most interesting treasure is not the number written on a coin. It is the story hidden behind it. Thank you for watching $1 Million Coin. If you enjoy rare coins, valuable eras, hidden varieties, old currency, and fascinating numismatic stories, make sure you subscribe to $1 Million Coin. Keep searching, keep learning, and keep looking closely, because an ordinary-looking coin may be carrying a story that has been waiting for years to be discovered.